Hey everybody, welcome to LettermenRow.com. I am Jeremy Birmingham. This is Birminology. It is National Signing Day, Part 1 in the class of 2022. Here with Ryan Day, Ohio State's head coach. 17 signees today, 18 coming on Friday that we know of, a local kid who we can't talk about yet because rules are rules and we care about rules. So let's just start with this class, Ryan. In general, it's obviously a top 5 class in the country, but it's way smaller than every other top 5 class in the country with 17 signees. You're looking at other schools with 25, 26 guys. With roster management, let's just start there. You guys seemed in this cycle to be the only school in the country concerned about how to manage numbers. Why was it so important for you with all of these outs? It seems like outs on the, from people outside looking in. Why was it important to just make sure you guys didn't kind of go crazy?
Well, we've had some bigger classes the last couple of years, and going into this year, we didn't have a whole bunch of spots.
Yeah.
In the transfer portal, we have had some guys enter, but not nearly like some other programs. Yeah. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And so we also don't want to run guys off. Now we know that there's going to be some attrition along the way. That's just the way of the world. I don't agree with it all, but we're going to plan accordingly. But the truth is, we didn't have as many spots going into this year. But I think when you look at the quality of the guy that we have, the rating systems are the rating systems, but even in the rating systems and a lot of the things I've looked at, the average player's rating was just about as high as anybody in the country, and we're proud of that.
Yeah, the number 2 ranked per player average according to the On3 Sports rankings, the national composite rankings. That kind of top-loaded when you deal with guys in Ohio, and that's what makes this class really interesting is that you do have, I think, 6 guys from Ohio of these first 17, with the 18 on Friday with he who shall not be named here. But, you have Sonny Styles in the class, and I wanted to dive into his recruitment a little bit because it's so unusual, but maybe not anymore. We're talking about these reclassifications, and I know that from talking to you previously and other guys around the program, you guys are not really wanting anyone to give up their senior year of high school and kind of speed up this process that much. But what makes a player like Sonny in his positions, and I say that because we don't know exactly how he fits into the defense moving forward, but different than what you had to deal with Quinn Ewers and the quarterback?
Well, I think Sonny kind of brought the idea to us, and we certainly embraced it. I think Sonny physically is mature for his age, and he's going to have to continue to put on weight and strength, and he'll do that this spring, but as he heads into the preseason. But I think he was somebody that always played up.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of shared that with me, and so did his parents, that growing up and playing in youth sports, he was always played above his age group, and I think he sees himself that way. So like you said, he has a lot of versatility. He can do a lot of things. So, we look forward to talk to him this spring and figure out, how we want to start this, and the bullet position is kind of where we see him, where he can do a lot of things. He can play a deep half. He can play down in the box. He can cover man-to-man and do a lot of those things, blitz. So I think he's extremely versatile and obviously very, very talented.
Well, Sonny told me back in the summer that one of the things that when he really started to feel like this was where he was going to end up was at a camp in June where he worked with Kerry and Matt, where he worked with Al, where he worked with Larry. He worked at all 3 levels of the defense. And I guess what I'm wondering is if you look at the quarterback position, obviously that's your forte, but the development path for a quarterback is significantly different than a big free-ranging athlete in the defense, right? I mean, the path is a lot longer at quarterback. Would you ever really consider a quarterback again in that situation? That, like, obviously hindsight's 2020, but reclassifying as a quarterback is a big step.
Yeah. I feel like everybody's different. Everybody's unique. Yeah. So it's hard to, project that onto somebody else. So I don't know. I think it's all in your approach and what your expectations are. And so, I take a lot of pride. We set the expectations on the front end really clear.
Yeah.
This is what you can expect. And especially in a unique situation like we're seeing with some of these things. And so a big part of it is just what are your expectations when you come in. And so I know Sonny has the expectations to come in here and work really, really hard and get stronger and so kind of go from there. But, each position is a little bit different in terms of understanding all that.
For you, as you dealt with this process, I don't want to spend too much time talking about guys that aren't in this class, but I am curious if there's a certain level of frustration for you as a coach when you got here in 2017. The summer of 2018 was the first time you saw Quinn Ewers as a quarterback. Every year you're kind of like plucking a new quarterback out of thin air. How excited were you to just have a guy like on the entire path from the first time you saw him before he even entered high school to the end of his college career, and then frustrated just to kind of lose that opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's part of the world we live in right now. And I know the quarterback position very well, obviously, and it's unique, and again, what we're trying to do on the front end is explain to these guys that, you're coming here to get developed. When you get on the field is up to you. If you want to come in and play right away, that's great. But if it doesn't exactly work out that way, we want you to be here for the entirety of this process and get developed. And, for some guys, if they get into year 3 or 4 and they don't get on the field and they want to maybe go play for a place for a year or two, then I tip my hat to them and say, absolutely, go ahead and do that. But, we really don't want to have guys come in and then leave after a year or two.
Yeah.
That's really something that we talk about on the front end and that we try to agree to. And now, and it's like that at some other positions too. And if that means somewhere along the line losing a recruit because we're being really honest and setting the expectations on our front end, then we're willing to do that, because we don't want to invest in people that don't want to be here for the entirety of their career. And I know that sounds crazy today with the portal, but I think it's important for the chemistry of our team.
In the last 2 media appearances you've had here at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, you have said the word adapt, I think, about 4,000 times.
Yeah, probably.
And I guess the question is, how easy is it to say that versus how hard is it to do it? Because with the name, image, and likeness stuff, which is this is the first year that it's been a real issue on the recruiting trail, transfer portal. I mean, you said in the summer that you were afraid you weren't going to recognize college football in 5 years. And it seems like that timeline has been sped up quite a bit. Like, how challenging is it? It seems like every week there's something else that you're being forced to deal with as the head coach here at Ohio State that I don't think you had to expect when you started here.
No, I think it's a great question. I think it's exactly right what you said. And I remember saying that in the summer, and here we are. And I think maybe you hear me use the word adapt, because what I'm trying to do is project out and say we just need to adapt with the times. And I'm sort of talking to myself when I'm saying that, because the easy thing is when things get a little chaotic, which I would argue things are chaotic right now.
Maybe slightly more than a little.
Yeah. It's unsettling.
Yeah.
It is. And people don't quite know where they're going. And that's not easy. And with that, there's just things that happen that, people struggle with. And when you don't know where you're headed, the best thing you can do is just try to adapt with the times and figure out what's the next best thing to do. And so, like you said, this is a lot different than it was a year ago, certainly a lot different than it was 3 years ago, and a lot different than it was 5 years ago.
You're talking about talking to yourself about it. Is it talking yourself into it? I mean, you're a younger coach in the big picture of college football, but you're still an old school football guy and still probably prefer the old way in a lot of ways. I mean, is it a situation where you have to say, Ryan, you better understand this is the way the game is going, and we as a program have to adapt? Or is it, holy crap, I need to change my mindset on this?
A little bit of both,
yeah.
I think. There has to be some changes here. I think where we're headed right now is dangerous. And so somewhere along the line, there has to be some sort of an agreement with the player about, when they come to a school and, they're playing for a year, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Just the ability to walk out the door with everything that's going on with name, image, and likeness and things like that. I don't know where you grab onto that. It's so fluid that it's hard to have any consistency in what you're doing. And it also, the other challenging part of it is, holding people to a standard, and forcing guys to be accountable for what they do on a daily basis. So all of those things are in play here. But that being said, this is all going to solve itself eventually. It's all going to kind of come to a balance at some point. And when we do, the guys who get frustrated and just throw their hands up and walk away, they'll have regret. And I don't want to do that. I want to be able to be part of the solution and help these young men out, because we still have a lot of guys who really care about playing football, who care about Ohio State, who care about their teammates, who want to do well and want to succeed, and all those guys. So you can't lose focus on that during these somewhat, chaotic times.
Turning the focus back to today's raison d'etre. I'm not really good at French. Austin is terrible at French. I took French in high school, but I'm still not good at it. But the reason for being here, I guess, today is this 2022 class. If you could just kind of a guy or two that maybe you felt like didn't get enough attention nationally, or that maybe me and people in my field covering Ohio State didn't give enough talk about. I mean, one that I have in mind is Kai Stokes. I just think that Kai Stokes has, if you watch him on film and you look at the frame and the athleticism, I think he's got the potential to be a superstar. And I know that, fans are seeing it and say, oh, you didn't sign Xavier Wampa. You missed out on Zion Branch and Wampa. But Kai Stokes is not a consolation. He was the first one.
Yeah. And we were already full, really, at safety. So anybody we got was a bonus. But Kai has position flexibility too. He can do a lot of things. He can cover at a high level. He can play the deep third. Very, very talented. A lot of speed, and a really special young man. I mean, he's really. I mean, I asked him his GPA the other day. He asked me weighted or unweighted, and I said weighted. He said it was like 6.2, which I didn't even know that was possible. But he's great. Mom and dad are great. Like you said, I think he's got a tremendous amount of potential. We mentioned Caden Curry, who I think has got a chance to be, really, really big-time player here. I think, Kenyatta Jackson is somebody who was Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Florida. I think he had over 18 sacks down there, which is saying something. When he grows into his body, he's got a chance to be really special. And Dallin Hayden's a very, very productive running back who had one game this year that was one of the better high school football games I've seen in a long, long time. Caleb Brown coming out of Chicago, didn't get a ton. I don't know what his ratings are. I don't really look at that kind of stuff, but he very, very talented, really explosive. Who else am I forgetting?
Caleb missed a little bit of time this year, and I think that probably, and plus he's one of these guys that I think in the last handful of years, people are like, how does this player fit into your offense? Sure. Is it an intentional thing that as you and Brian Hartline sit down and say, hey, we still need a guy like this? I mean, there was a thought maybe that Mookie Cooper could have been that guy. Mookie was a little bit smaller than Caleb.
But I think with Caleb's a receiver.
Yeah.
Caleb can run routes. He can get in and out of breaks. I think he's got a chance to be really, really good. To me, he's not a running back / receiver H type. I think he is a slot receiver who has very, very good ball skills downfield. Understands how to set guys up, very explosive. So he'll be good inside.
I think there's a misconception a lot of times with smaller receivers that they're gadget players, and they don't have to be.
Yep.
As you talk about being disruptive, what can be really disruptive for you is what's happened in the last 3 weeks internationally. All these coaching changes, the craziness of the carousel. You did talk about the NFL stuff a touch in the press conference earlier, but how hard is it for you as a coach to walk into living rooms and talk to kids and get asked questions that you can only give the best answer you can give because that's the answer at the time, and you're not in control of everything, so things can change. Is it a challenge, or do you feel like there's a difficulty in giving kids answers that maybe they don't want to believe? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think it's two things. One, if you don't win enough games at Ohio State, and this is for me and for all the assistants, they're going to talk about replacing you. Yeah. If you win a lot of games, there's always going to be more opportunities.
You mean every game?
Yeah, every game. You're going to have opportunities and different things are going to come up, and it's just part of the game. And I think when you look across the country with all the stuff that's happened over the last couple of weeks, I think that's just put fuel on that fire. Yeah. I think if half of those things didn't happen, nobody would even be talking about this. But people like to talk, and that's okay. It's part of the game. But it's a crazy world right now that we live in when it comes to this stuff. And I think players understand that, and I think that they understand that there's stability here, and they understand the culture that's built here, and these guys want to be a part of it.
I asked our subscribers on our message board that I would, for a couple questions for you, and this was the last three, and I'll let you get on with your day because I'm sure you're sick of talking. But I started with this one from 11 Kurt Curtis, who says, if shuffling the staff means losing 2-4 recruits in a class, is it more important for team performance long-term to be honest, or do you have to sit back and say, we don't know what's going to happen? Like, how do you handle, if you know that announcing a change could cost you a recruit, is it more important to be honest, or is it more important to win down the line?
Yeah, I mean, it's you have to be honest, and I think that's why we did what we did with Coach Knowles. I mean, I could have waited to make that announcement, and Maybe it would have got us a recruit. I don't know. But those things add up in time, and you don't want to be known for somebody that is underhanded or contrived in what they do. That's just not what it's all about. And one of the things I've always took a lot of pride in is being truthful, being honest, and doing things in a first-class manner. And people don't like to get fooled, and so that's certainly not something that I'm going to be a part of.
Kind of spinning off that, the next one is from Chef DRB80. I'm not sure exactly if he's a chef really or if he's a doctor. Chef doctor? I'm not sure. This kind of goes into that. It says, with the ever-changing future of college football, how do you adjust to staying true to who you are and the brand of Ohio State while trying to figure out the best way to navigate all this?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that you cannot compromise. And I'm sure, it's tempting, I guess, at times. And there's certain things that you want to do when you're competitive to win. And that's all real, but you have to keep your values and integrity in place. Otherwise, at the end of the day, it's hard to come home to your wife and kids because that's, at the end of the day, what's important here. And I know the people of Ohio understand that's what they want when they're talking about this program. Certainly, we want to win, and we have to win every game. That's part of the deal here. But just as important is doing things the right way in a first-class manner that they can be proud of, and that's what we're going to continue to do here.
The last one was from Stock Option 14. That was about the difference between Sonny Styles and the quarterback, for example, in transitioning and coming in early. But as you head into signing day part 2 over the next 7 weeks, where is the focus for you and for the staff as to what you know now you need to wrap up this class with?
Yeah, I mean, D-line, there's going to be definitely a couple spots there. And then we'll take a look to see if maybe someone in the defensive backfield will fit in. Possibly a couple guys in the portal. And sometimes when you get into that situation with the portal, it isn't even so much need. Sometimes it is need, but sometimes it's best available. If there's somebody that fits for the right reasons from the state of Ohio, fits a position need, isn't going to mess up the chemistry of the team, we think has an opportunity to be here for a couple years, or like for instance with Noah Ruggles, we had a need there. That was a need. We felt like we'll go ahead and do that. And maybe it'll be, before February 1st. Maybe it'll be, after the spring like it's happened before. So we'll continue to look at it. I think we got a really good handle on it. Mark Pantoni, and his staff, they obviously do a great job evaluating the high school kids, but we also have a really good board on all the guys in the portal and evaluating all those guys. But, it's like being in the NFL and relying on free agency. That's not a good recipe for success. You want to do a great job of developing the people that you bring into your program, and that's where we want to really spend our focus.
I think people get confused and think that this transfer portal is free agency, but it's not, because you still have to deal with, when does someone graduate from college? Are they going to be able to get in here in January, or do they have to enroll in May? And if they have to enroll in May, are they able to learn the offense? And I mean, you guys had to deal with that over the last week with another guy that came in for a visit and ended up committing elsewhere. I mean, this isn't black and white. You have 85 guys that you're beholden to out there, and they're not paid to be here. It's like the NFL, those guys are all getting paid pretty good money. So if you bring in a free agent to take one guy's spot, that guy's still making a pretty good living and isn't kind of put on the street and forced to uproot his entire life like a lot of college kids are. We could go on and on. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of thoughts, Ryan. A lot of thoughts. I got a lot of problems with you people. But that's it. I'm going to let you go because I know you're tired of talking. This is Ryan Day. I'm Jeremy Birmingham. This has been Birminology on Lettermen Row. It's signing day 2022. We appreciate you watching. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.